I'm Victoria. I'm Vanessa. Yeah, it's okay if you can't tell us apart. I guess we would call it Twingineering. Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Welcome back to our 8th episode of Twingineering. So this time we're together. Yay! As you can see. Thank you for joining us. If you've been with us so far, we appreciate your support. And yeah, we're here together this week. So we're very glad to not have any technical issues, hopefully. Yeah. So let's get into it. Yeah, so this week we are going to talk about working in a male-dominated field. We're just going to talk about it, you know? So now we're just going to get into it. What we like to do first is just talk about our weekly highs and lows. Get a little comfortable at first. So, Victoria, do you want to tell us about your highs and lows? Yeah, so my low is airports. So I traveled to Vanessa. She did. There's always a connecting flight, so I always have to go through 2 airports, one way. Hate them. I always have to make sure my gate is there, you know? I always get scared. And my high, well, just yesterday we did an event with Maya's Purdue, so that was exciting. That was our first like in-person talk, being outside of college. Yeah. And also I've met a couple of new people this week, so that's good. We love meeting new people, making friends. Yeah, so for me, my weekly low, I would say like feeling imposter syndrome. I know like on the last episode I was like, I didn't feel like I learned something new because it was like a slow period. And like since then, my workload has like skyrocketed a little bit. You jinxed it. Yeah, I did jinx it. So don't do what I did. But yeah, I've just been recently given like a couple projects, and a lot of it is new to me. So especially working in like an automotive industry and like manufacturing, I didn't have that background. It's something about going into things that I don't have any background on. I don't know, but yeah. So I know, you learn within the job, and people are there to help you. But I think it's just like a mental thing for me that I always feel like I have to know. Like, oh, maybe I should have known this like a long time ago, and that's not the case. Like, be perfect. Yeah, like, oh, maybe I should have like learned this a long time ago, or like I should have known what a compressor does when would, you know what I mean? I don't know, but so yeah, just kind of battling with my own self. Like, I've been trying to tell myself like not to feel pressured because this is a learning experience, and it is. You do learn on the job, and ask questions, and I do ask questions. It's just kind of like up here, so I'm just trying to deal with that and just improve myself professionally, like at work, and then just build my knowledge. So yeah, but my weekly high is that I've taken dance classes. I found a studio around me. 30 minutes so away. But yeah, so I've enjoyed the classes, and I'm excited to get back into dancing. So we'll see where that goes. So now we'll talk about something new that we learned in our current role. I can go first. So some of the projects that I've been recently given were specific to the parts that I've received. One of them being like a compressor in the engine, and another one being water pipe comp assembly. And I kind of just learned about first like what those parts even are and like what they do. And I can't just like try to understand it like on a surface level. Like, I don't know why my brain is like, I have to learn like what it does and like what exactly it's doing in the engine. So I kind of did my own research on like how it works, and also for developing the part, like what exactly I have to do to make sure that the quality is good, and like that we make sure that the supplier is doing their job and their part. So yeah, I've just been learning a lot about new parts and just the development stages.
Yeah, for me, I wouldn't say it's like completely new, but it's like stuff that I have to go back and review. A lot of it is like EMI stuff, so electromagnetic interference and like transmission lines. So we took a class on that, like in college. It was one class on that, and I have to review all that. Like the engineer that I work with was like, like the the impedance has to be like 50 ohms, right? And it has to match like the input of the source and then of the load, like beginning and end. It has to be the same, right? Because if not, like obviously there's no impedance matching. And then we had to like figure out how to match it. But anyways, he had like mentioned that. He's like, right, like it has to be the same. And then I was like, right. And I was like, like I remembered that, but I was like, at the time, like I wouldn't have been able to like make that out, you know what I mean? Like as he was saying, but then I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. And so yeah, I just had to like do a lot of review this week because we're gonna get into a lot more testing in EMI and stuff. So yeah,
Cool.
all right. So let's get into today's theme. Working in a male-dominated field. What like pros and cons?
Our experiences.
What it's like.
Yeah. So yeah. So I'll start in college. When we started taking our classes, and especially going up into like the upper division courses, you don't see a lot of women, especially Latinas. And we would go to like information sessions or just talk to people who were in industry. They did mention that it was the same thing. Like you don't really experience much change regarding women in engineering. And when I got to my job, I was like, oh, yeah. So currently in my team, I work with a lot of older white men. And, I guess like on one hand, it does have to do with the fact that the area I live in, or like, yeah, but I think also they also mentioned to me, like when I first started, they asked me like why I pursued engineering and why I had a job, since it isn't common for women and then also like Latinas to pursue a degree in engineering, and yeah, I gave them my whole life story, but so they also recognize that there isn't many women in these fields, and that's just within like one of the departments that I have experience in. I've mentioned that I'm in a rotational program, so I do go into different departments to experience them and do work there. But I would also mention that it's the same in every department. There aren't many women in engineering, and at first I was like pretty intimidated because I know people had told me beforehand that you weren't going to see a lot of women in industry, but then it's kind of like you have to own your position there. Like you made it there, they hired you, and you're there to do your part, and you are like an asset to the team, and you have a lot to bring to the table. So a lot of that can be easier said than done, but I still battle with that, like I mentioned earlier. But you just have to know that you're there for a reason, and you're important, just as important, maybe even more. But yeah, I guess like the pros and cons is like the pros. I guess it's like
The bathrooms are always free.
the bathrooms are always free. Yeah, but also like a lot of the times like people do take your opinion like maybe more into consideration. I know for me, like at least for me, my work environment has been great. It may be different for other people, and I haven't felt like you know, anyone was like treating me any different because of how I looked or who I was. So that's like a pro, especially like when you go into or try to find jobs, like look for a really good work environment. But the cons, I would say it is like imposter syndrome, and you kind of like feeling out of place, and you kind of just have to do your best to overcome that. It hasn't really changed. Like there isn't like a 50-50 yet, but that's what we're working towards.
Yeah, one thing I want to bring up is like just the importance of women in the field. Because, you know, we're always like, diversity is important, you know, like it's necessary. And then some people are like, but why? So in case you need that, even though you shouldn't, there's been so many like cases or like situations where we see that the world was like built for men, and one of those is seatbelts. So the seatbelts, like on cars, were designed for men. So a lot of women are more likely to die in a car crash than men are. So it's just like things like that where we need women to go into these fields to like help with that design, you know, to have their input because it's important. And we need to create that movement. I don't know if those are the right words, but like to start catering towards women as well. But I mean, at least for me, I am the youngest and like only Latina in my team, or at least like working with like the hands-on stuff. And thankfully, I also work with men who take my thoughts into consideration, like make sure I feel comfortable. But they are a lot older, and I don't have like a friend like who is a woman. So I can't like. It's a lot harder, I think. Like in college, you see a lot more women. Not that there's a lot of women in electrical engineering, anyways, but obviously there's more in like different majors, and like you're kind of like, okay, like this is fine, like, you know, I have some friends. But industry, it's like different. There was like way less, and at first, like it was like uncomfortable, you know, because it's kind of like I don't want to okay, I'm gonna compare it to this, like walking past a group of men, you know, but it's like that's like your work environment. But like thankfully, like those men in this situation have like made me feel comfortable, and it doesn't necessarily feel like that. But at times it can feel that way, especially like if you don't know like those people there, like maybe you work in the same office, but like you don't know them personally. And so there comes like intimidation. But yeah, like Vanessa said, you have to be confident, and just understand. Like I always have to talk to myself lots of times. Like, oh, you're there for a reason. Like it's okay if you don't know this. Like these people have so many years in this company, or like so many years of industry experience in general. Like this is your first year. Like it's gonna be okay. And I do a lot of talking to myself to get me through that. So sometimes that's just what you need to do. And sometimes if you have a hard day, you know, just go home and cry it out. Sometimes you just need to do that, you know, like talk to someone about it.
You can also like reward yourself, like take yourself out, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like just do that. I don't know, like it's hard. People do tell you like, okay, there's not gonna be a lot of women in the industry, but they don't necessarily like prepare you for it, like what to do. If you feel like uncomfortable, like speaking up and things like that. I know that's one thing I'm still working on, like speaking up in like meetings where it's like I'm the only woman there, but
and I think that also like sometimes like I feel like I kind of invalidate myself sometimes. And I do it like I don't realize it later that I do it. Like for example, when I was in another department, we dealt with a lot of like real-time problems that happened in the plant, specific to part quality. But we like when we tried to mitigate the issue, we were, you know, they would talk to each other about like what they can do, what they're looking for, and a lot of them, it's like they do have like years of experience, so like maybe they've seen a similar issue and like they know kind of like what to look for, like what's the first step. Whereas like for me, I was like, oh, like I've never seen this part, like I wasn't sure, you know, like how, you know, you can even try to resolve it. And I remember one time, like in my head, I was like, why don't we just like check like a specification and like measure it? But I never said it because I was like, oh, maybe like it's wrong or something. And then my mentor, like at the time, he like brought it up and they were like, oh yeah, like let's do that. And I was like, oh my god, like so I think it's better to just like speak up, and you know I've been trying to do better because like I think that specific instance, like since that happened, like I've been trying to push myself more to just like speak up, like it's okay to be wrong.
Yeah, they're not gonna fire you.
Yeah, they're like, oh what? No.
Yeah.
Like we need to replace her right now. Like, you know, like, and I think it's just like the overthinking and like you need to understand that it's okay to be wrong because the other people are wrong all the time. Like I see it, but then it's like for me, like I don't know why I put so much pressure on myself.
Yeah, like we can't be wrong.
Yeah, and so yeah, like those things happen, and like Victoria said, like I also like talk to myself, like moving out here, like you know, Victoria and I spent like our whole lives together. We would when we took same classes, we went together, but then it's like we go to a job, like we weren't gonna go together. Like it was me, myself, and I. So it's like you kind of have to know how to like push yourself and just like be there, like literally just be there and do your best every day. So and that's all you can do.
I think one thing that has helped me also is just like taking notes for everything.
Yeah.
And like I know like some people like don't, and I'm like, okay, well, like I have to also talk to myself like not to feel like bad about it. Not saying that it's a bad thing to take notes because it's not, but like I don't see anyone else doing it, so then I'm like, oh, maybe I'll just like remember it, or like maybe I shouldn't. And I'm like, that's not how my brain works though. Like this is for you. And so I just like started. Well, since I've gotten there, I just like started taking notes on things like that I don't understand, things I need to get back to, or just like explanations of like engineering topics. And I think that has helped me a lot because I'm able to like come back to that information, and like if I ever like that way I don't have someone repeating the same thing like over and over and over and over to me. Not that they would mind, but like you know what I mean? And it's also helpful just to like have those notes there that way you can reference them whenever. And like if somebody else asks you, like you know. So yeah, I think taking notes on lots of things has helped me in meetings too. I don't know if I said that, but yeah.
Yeah. I think that was
notes, yeah.
Yeah, but in the end, you got this. If
Yeah.
we did it, you can do it too. If you need some advice or like just little pick me ups, feel free to reach out. Especially if you're like starting in a new job or like internship.
Yeah.
Yeah, just let us know.
Yeah, and if you have any like other questions, like maybe we didn't address them in this topic, but like maybe you wanted to hear more about something, or you're like, why don't they talk about this? Like obviously it's like important in this topic. Well, reach out, send us a message, and we're always willing to, you know, talk about anything you want us to talk about. So
yeah,
that was it for the
topic.
Yeah. Well, now we're gonna get into the asked questions. The question was if we have any recommendation or book recommendations for Latinas, and so we do have very few, but feel free to ask this question again. But that's only because like you know we see different book recommendations from other people, but like we haven't read them ourselves, so I don't want to be like, oh yeah, read this, and then it's like it's bad. I don't want you to like take that from me. I do not like sharing misinformation. So the book that I have right now, I'm almost done reading. I think I mentioned this before, but it's called You Sound Like a White Girl. I recommend that one. It just talks about like not, I think, assimilating, and I think there's just like stories from the author that I can relate to, but also there was like stuff like history history that like I didn't even know. So it's always great to like expand your knowledge on that, especially from like our culture, our history that isn't shared anywhere really. And then the other book that I also read, what was it?
For brown girls with sharp edges and glass hearts.
Tender Hearts. Where did you get glass from?
I think I have a book that says glass hearts.
Oh,
A poetry book.
anyway, sorry. It's because it's a long title, but sorry, not laughing at this. But
Where's
that book is also really good. I like cried because I was like, there are some parts of it that I was like, this is me, you know. So that one is a really good book. I read that one, couldn't stop reading it, so I read it kind of fast, but I would highly recommend that one as well. And
I started reading it. I haven't finished it yet, but yeah, I was like, I remember I screenshotted it, and I was like, oh, I want this book, right? And then I saw Victoria posted it, and I was like, let me read it.
I know, she took it from my room.
I did. This book is with us in this room today.
So those are the only two we have. Hopefully that answers your question. And come back to us in a couple months. Hopefully we will have read more books, and we have more books to suggest to you.
And recommend, yeah.
That was a word.
But yeah, thank you all for watching this 8th episode. Stay tuned for more. Visit our website where we have all the other episodes, some of our features, more information about us, and the
Twingineering tab in the website.
I stuttered.
I know. It's fine. People stutter. Yeah, so visit the Redbubble page. If you don't know what it is, Twingineering is a name. I came up with designs, uploaded them to Redbubble, and all of the profit that I receive will be donated to supporting Latinas, minorities in engineering and STEM. So yeah, share it, buy something, in any way that you can support, we would appreciate it. And in any way that we can support you, please let us know. This is what we're passionate about, so don't think you're like bothering us or something. Like, we really want people to reach out and support in any way that we can. So
Yeah.
that is all.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will see you.
We won't see you.
You will see us.
We
though.
will catch up.
And
though.
you will hear us in 2 weeks.
Also, we now have these. Oh, I don't know if it makes sense if I say this. We have our podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you're listening on any of those platforms, this does not make sense. But anyways,
Yeah, it's because we used to only have them on YouTube, and then now we're able to upload them to other platforms. So
we upgraded.
yeah, we have microphones and upgraded to other platforms. So moving on up.
Thank you guys.
We will see you soon.